Welcome to the MFS Wellness Podcast, a hybrid structure encompassing health, fitness, self-improvement, and entertainment, where no topic is off limits and all opinions are graciously welcomed.
Let's get on with the show!
And now, here's the host of the show, Mike Sinopoli.
This is the MFS Wellness Podcast, and I am Mike Sinopoli, and we have reached the second quarter of the year already and officially underway. As it is April 1st, April Fool's Day to some of you goofballs out there, but there's nothing foolish about what we're discussing today, which is why diets fail and some tips for perimenopausal women to battle something like that. And to help me discuss this today, because I'm a man, I cannot be pre or perimenopausal. I brought on a guest, and she is a mom, a wife, a personal trainer, and a fitness enthusiast. She's been featured twice as an ambassador for Lululemon Athletica, and is an entrepreneur as a co-owner of award-winning national franchise Star Cycle Santa Barbara, with a primary goal of helping women navigate fitness through middle age. Her name is Kayla Johnson. Kayla, how are you?
I'm doing fantastic. Thanks for that warm welcome.
Oh, you got to take care of people that come on here. You give your time. I have you want to just put it out there, give a good intro, why you're here, what we're doing. And, it's great. You got,
I love it. And can you believe it's April? What happened in the first quarter of the year?
I don't know, but the way it goes, like January seemed to go slower than molasses, and then February was like a blink, and I don't even remember what happened in March. So yeah, no, I can't believe it. And a lot of folks too. I was going to even mention to the listeners, I get really weird with New Year's resolutions, right? So but if you stick with them, because I'm okay with them, but I don't love them. But if you started your New Year's resolution, today would be your 90 days. And, we know there's something special about 90 days, which we'll talk about later, because I believe in that as well. I mean, there's no end to fitness, but results seem to just really hit around that time. So we'll get into that later. But Kayla, why don't you, if you could, just give us, I gave you a little background of you as I, talk kind of fast through that, but why don't we get start off with you here on how you got into like fitness and like what drove you, when you were young, or like how did you get into this? Because we all have a similar but little different story on how we just became fitness enthusiasts.
Yeah, I love that. Of course. So I have been in the industry for 32 years, which makes me feel ancient, but that happens to be the truth. So I'm 49 now, and I got into the industry because I came from a dance background, and back in the 90s, dance to group fitness was a pretty close parallel. Mm-hmm. And I couldn't afford my gym membership. So that instructor just grabbed me out of the front row and asked if I wanted to start teaching step aerobics. Did you ever take step aerobics?
Me, I have never taken step aerobics. I can imagine it would be a hilarious thing to see. And
well, hold on. I have to ask you first. How old are you?
Me, I'm going to be 42 shortly.
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh. You actually look much younger than that. Okay. So, but step aerobics classes, right? You're familiar with that to a certain degree.
It's kind of like they have the little the box in front of the platform in front of you. You're up and down. Yes, I know what they are. And, I'm not a very graceful individual, so I've strayed away from those sorts of things. So maybe I should, one of these days, I should just bust through that comfort zone and check it out.
I mean, I'm not sure how many step classes you would find nowadays, but that's where I made my mark.
I did. And I did bust through one bit of a comfort zone this weekend with my girlfriend.
What'd you do?
I took my kids and my girlfriend and her boys. We went to a yoga studio and they did puppy yoga.
My gosh.
It was great.
That is it as fabulous as it looks?
Oh, it's great. You're not going to do much yoga because
I was going to say that's total chaos. That's like doing yoga with babies.
It really is. They're just all over the place. It's a distraction, but it was a really positive environment, and I think all of us had a really good time. My youngest daughter, though, she was really getting into the yoga part. She was following the instructions. She's 7 years old, going to be 8.
Oh, and that's perfect.
It was adorable to see. But anyways, that's getting a little off base. But go ahead with you were doing you were coaching or training in a step class.
So I started in group fitness. Group fitness is always been my first love. I'm a bit of a serial entrepreneur. I've owned a lot of businesses in fitness. And in fact, I just sold that spin studio that you talked about like 5 days ago.
Oh, okay. Well, hey,
so what? I just closed escrow on that. No, it's really exciting. I was able to talk to a 29-year-old fabulous human beings. So like that's so exciting for
But
me.
it's still an
I
accomplishment. Still an
Yeah, it's an
accomplishment.
amazing accomplishment. I love building business. I love helping people. I love all the things. So
Right.
I've also been in the private sector as well. I've been a private trainer for almost the bulk of that exact time and love that. And that's really coming from the training world. If anybody, any of your listeners are trainers, you understand that that's where you really, that's where change comes from, is that one-to-one connection with people and really helping someone. I mean, group fitness is so fun and I love it. And the feedback from a room of people moving, puppies or no puppies, is just so enjoyable, right? But like to really
Absolutely.
instrument change for people, you've got to get into the nitty-gritty of what's happening with them. So fast forward all these years, this little thing called COVID happened. I'm not sure if you heard of it.
No, news to me. No, no, I don't know nothing about it. Sounds sounds terrible.
It was a challenging time.
Hmm.
So COVID's happening, right? And so I just want to paint this picture for you really quickly. So I'm living in Santa Barbara, California. My husband and I have 6 children. We're circling the wagons and getting everybody back, home. It was chaos. They're in
Hmm.
college and it was just a mess. And I am dragging my spin bikes in and out of my spin studio, fighting with the city because they want to shut me down.
Mm.
And all of my business goes to Zoom, as everybody's businesses did. And so I'm doing all of this, which actually was my silver lining of COVID. But at the time, my point is this: I was mad at everybody. And and I was not fit for public consumption, let's put it that way.
Mm.
And I was in perimenopause and had no idea. Okay, so I think that my generation we all kind of got a bit lost, and our moms for sure were very, very much lost in the shuffle.
Hmm.
Nobody was talking to me about sex, let alone perimenopause. Okay,
Hmm.
so like that was just off the table. So in my mind, I thought when I stopped having a cycle, I would be in menopause. I didn't even know there was such a thing called perimenopause, if I'm being totally honest.
How long does that phase last? How
That's a
long
great
is
question.
I don't know this at all.
Yeah, that's a
Like I
great question. It could be 3 to 10 to 15 years.
okay.
It's this really big span of time where things are all over the place. And now, all these years later, obviously, I have so much research under my belt and I know so much more than I did then. But it felt, and again, this is a hindsight conversation because at the time I was so upside down. I didn't know which
Sure.
end was up. I was really struggling. And then the second piece of that is because my business went to Zoom, I'm a bricks and mortar girl, right?
Hmm.
I've always done fitness in person. Never thought for a moment about stepping outside of Santa Barbara, really getting outside the scope of my own backyard. And I had this glimpse into, oh my gosh, I can actually instrument change outside of my own backyard. This is amazing. So
Hmm.
that was just like this kind of epiphany that happened. So really a silver lining of that nightmarish time. But it's really how I ended up in the space where I'm ending up in now. And ironically, I was training all men.
Oh,
Not
really?
to 100%, but I was training mostly men. And I just had this like, have you ever had this anything happen in life where you're just like, this is it? Everything in my life that I had done up to that point got me ready for where I am right now. And it was so clear that that's where I was supposed to be. And the reason why is because I was struggling,
Hmm.
just to be super honest. I
Right.
was really struggling. I was gaining weight. I wasn't sleeping. I wanted to scratch everybody's eyes out. I was just really, really struggling. And for most of us, it's the weight gain part that really gets us kind of down in the trenches.
Hmm.
And I've made a life of fitness. I've made a
Right.
life of it. I've never stepped away from it. Every pregnancy, I went right back to it. I've never had a lull. I've never felt out of shape. And I will say, there is nothing like the evening of the playing field, like walking into midlife.
Hmm.
And if it did anything for me, it gave me an immense amount of empathy
So
because up to that point, I'd really never struggled and I was on the struggle bus. So because of that, I just felt this massive conviction that I knew that I was going to see my way through because that's just me. I will claw my way through anything. I'm very tenacious. And I just thought to myself, you know what? When I finally crack the code and I finally figure out what the hell is going on, I have to help women get through this.
hmm.
And so that's what I did. I went to work. I started doing, it was COVID. So it was a time of reinvention no matter what. Everything changed. And so I started doing, market research and beta testing. I own a spin studio. So like I had access to so many people
Hmm.
and just started asking women like, what do you need? What's going on? How do you feel? Really collecting a lot of data and figuring out what the common themes were, which there
Hmm.
always are, right?
Hmm.
And how I could really help these women come together and create change. And so that's where my 90-day program was born. as I realized, as you just said, 90 days is kind of the span of time I needed.
Right.
So I did all the things, right? And I'm the girl who does all the things. I eat the protein, I do the cardio, I do the zone 2, I sleep well, I have an infrared sauna, I have a cold plunge. Like I do the things. I got the
Right.
weighted belts. I'm like your poster child, okay? And none of those things are working. So, and I'm the trainer that is and the coach that is always saying like, listen, there's no silver bullet.
Hmm.
Like there is no silver bullet. There is not an answer. And I know that we're an industry full of people trying to sell you that they have the answer. And I'm just going to tell you right now, there isn't one.
Hmm.
Your fitness and your wellness is just like this orchestra, and there's tons of instruments in the orchestra, and they are all working together to create music. And you can't, there's not one thing that's going to save your life, right?
Right, right. And they're
But can I
all
be,
different. They're all different too, because like
they're
each
all different
person,
instruments.
and they're
Yeah.
different for different people. So that's
Yes.
why, that's what the benefit is to the one-on-one coaching with people, and why I
Yes.
try to push that versus these going to shop for a diet. Like you can't just, and we'll get into that when we talk about why diets fail. But I like what you're saying here, where you're going with this, because that's kind of how I put it to people. Like, should I try keto? Should I try
Yes.
whatever else the name of the diet is? And it's like, no, because those are created diets. And of every 100 people that try it, maybe 3 fit in it and it can do it for the rest of their lives. You have to,
Exactly.
and it's actually
Maybe.
right. And it's actually supposed to be a thing of beauty that you can come up with your own lifestyle. You don't even call it a diet. You call it a lifestyle that you do.
Absolutely.
Right. So is that
Mhm.
what that's where you kind of went with that then too, right?
Yeah, well, okay, well, no, so
Finish
so
up. Sorry.
yes, I want to pick that up because you just made an amazing point, and I definitely, you and I speak the same language.
Hmm.
I 1,000% want to echo what you said for sure. But what I was going to get at is that I tell people that, and when you're feeling really desperate
Hmm.
and you don't know what else to do, you start thinking like, okay, well, maybe hormone replacement therapy is the answer. Maybe when I get my hormones back to where they need to go,
Hmm.
I'm just kind of taking you through my
Sure.
process of how this all evolved. Then maybe I'll start feeling like myself again. Maybe I won't be puffy. Maybe I'll lose 15 pounds. Maybe, even knowing that that wasn't going to be the answer because there isn't one, I still went down that road. Now, listen, every woman going through perimenopause, I encourage, and I want the women who are listening to this to please hear this. You need to find an OBGYN who knows what they're talking about, who will listen to you, because going on hormone replacement therapy is so critically important for so many reasons. And I will say, I was sleeping again and I wasn't ripping people's heads off.
Hmm.
And I had a little bit of sense of calm happening to me. But did it affect weight gain or stop weight gain? No, it didn't. And that's just my journey. That's
Hmm.
my journey. It might help other people. That's definitely my journey. And the other piece of that is I 1,000% agree with you. We have to make a lifestyle out of this.
Hmm.
You don't arrive on the doorstep of wellness and come in and sit on the couch
Right.
and say like, well, I'm glad that's over.
Never. It's never
Never.
over.
It's never over until you're dead.
That's why in like to kind of put some things in place here, like we say 90 days, but 90 days is sort of where you'll start seeing the results. That's just the start. When you end your first 90 days with something, that's just like if you work with a coach for 90 days and you can make some lifestyle changes and figure it out. And at that point, at day 90 is when you kind of figure out, can you sustain this through the rest of your life by yourself, with or without the coach? You can go either way. It depends on how you're doing things as a nutrition coach or a trainer. I've always said is that, there's two ways about this. Yes, this is a job. We are here to make money. Repeat business is great. We love that. But I mean, the real success to me is like when you could just take somebody who's lost and figuring it out, you coach them for a little while and then you can see them go on their own. And then they create that lifestyle. You've truly helped that person. You didn't create a dependency on yourself. So,
Absolutely.
it's okay. And to anyone that wants to go, does something and he needs to go back to a coach, like whether, whoever it may be, me or you, whoever it is, there's nothing wrong with that. I've had clients come back to me just because they liked the process, the accountability,
Mhm.
the having that person there to talk to. There's a lot to it, and I'm sure it's a lot like being a therapist, in a sense, going through this kind of stuff. And you have to meet people at
Absolutely.
different places. So,
Absolutely. Well, you have to
that's really
meet people
cool.
where they are. And I
Right.
always tell my clients that I say, listen, codependency is not the goal.
Hmm.
Codependency pays well,
Right.
but it's not the goal. The goal is to take somebody and to instrument real change and to really make lifestyle changes for somebody. And then, yeah, I feel like at 90 days, you're kind of just like revving your engine.
It's really it.
After
It
90
takes
days, you're finally like, okay, I'm revving the engine and I don't necessarily need a co-pilot. Like, I think I can map this out by myself.
right.
But on day one, not really. And I always tell my clients, like, listen, you're always in the driver's seat, but I'm very much in the passenger seat and I'm very much navigating,
Yeah, absolutely.
very much
And
helping you through these
right.
first days to really help you with these course corrections. And like to go back to what you said, I'm 100% against the diet culture. Diets do not work.
Hmm.
They will work in the short term. Any diet will work in the short term. There's no shelf life. There is zero sustainability. When you come from the 80s and 90s, we all come to the table with something, right? I used to
Hmm.
steal my mom's diet candies that were hidden under her bed. I watched my mom yo-yo, my whole life,
Remember,
childhood.
do you remember Snackwells? Remember Snackwells
Oh,
back
the
in
green
the
box.
the
Do I
green
remember
the green
SnackWells?
box of those cookies that had no fat in them, but were loaded up with sugar and calories, and we were supposed to be able
And
to eat those all we wanted because
absolutely,
fat was the
chemicals. Yeah, the
right.
famous chemicals. And the my favorite was the one my mom used to buy was do you remember Entenmann's
Yeah. Oh yeah.
coffee cake?
I know.
Entenmann's?
Linteman's coffee
Yeah.
cake. That was always at my house. My grandma would always go to town on those things, man. She
Oh my
loved that
gosh.
stuff.
And the fat-free cheese and the fat-free butter and the margarine and all the things. We had
Right.
all the things. And that's why I always tell clients that I'm talking to or just getting to know, like, give yourself some grace, man. We had a
Hmm.
hard road.
Yeah, and I think, and I've said it before in the podcast, and you'll probably picked up on it yourself because we're a similar path. In the 80s and into the 90s, there was fat that was demonized in a sense. It was all fat, no
Absolutely.
fat, no fat. Then we started to realize, then everyone started to gain weight because what happened was they just processed everything with sugar,
Mhm.
and then all of a sudden it was like carbs now are the demon. So like they went from that, and then in the late 90s into the 2000s, we had the low carb, no carb craze, which is actually just terrible. All of this is actually really bad because and you realize when you demonize, that's the word I have to use because you take a
No,
macro,
it works.
they try to demonize every macronutrient over the last 3 decades. Like first it was fat, carbs, and then in a sense you've even got this vegan push now that's low key demonizing protein. Like I've seen these articles of people saying a high protein snack and it contains almonds as the protein source, and I'm like, that's a fat source,
That's a
people.
fat source.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, anyways, continue. I just
Yeah.
interject with my stuff.
Well, no, but that's, I love that. But I was just saying that that's one of the biggest things that I like to get a hold of with people in the very beginning is just really understanding where they come from and unpacking a little bit of the baggage, if you will, and the way that they've always done things. Now, to talk specifically into more of the perimenopausal years, I didn't necessarily fall victim to this because I've made a life out of this. But what
Hmm.
I hear so often is, I don't know what's wrong with me. Like what I used to do in my 20s and 30s no longer works. And that's just the reality of where we are. And it's for us, self-proclaimed cardio bunnies, it
Hmm.
is the saddest reality. I mean, I had a spin studio up
Yep.
until 5 minutes ago. So like that cardio, well, first of all, we're indoctrinated to believe that that's how you burn fat.
Right.
And what's what we did. Remember those stair steppers?
Oh
Those like
yeah. The ones, it's not the
stairs,
step mill, but the actual
not
ones
the
that were
stair
just
mill, not the stair
no,
mill, the
right.
stepper.
I know the stepper you're talking about. It was just two flat platforms and you would just go up and down. I
Two
don't think
flat platforms that you just were like
yeah.
stitching grapes. I don't know what
Yeah.
we were doing on that thing, but
Yeah.
I probably wore that out. I probably needed to
Hmm.
pay rent at the gym. Because I was there all the time on the
Oh yeah.
damn stair stepper. Now I got lucky because I dated gym rats.
Hmm.
So I was the girl at 19 years old in the gym with the weights with nobody else. I mean, I was at Gold's Gym. So I was in there
Right.
with the bodybuilders. And so I learned very early on. I just really enjoyed it. I wasn't doing shows. I wasn't doing it from an aesthetic perspective. I just really enjoyed feeling strong
Hmm.
because I was a dancer my whole life. So it was just kind of a different thing, but I got lucky. So
Hmm.
I've literally weight trained my whole life, but not because I thought I was going to be metabolically sound.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
That's not why I was weight training at 20 years old, to be clear. It's
Right.
because the guys were hot and that's where I was. That's what I was
Sure.
doing. I up until current day, just an absolute cardio fiend.
Hmm.
And yes, there are endorphins, and yes, I really enjoy a 45-minute spin class. I love it, but I do believe that that was part of how I was staying stuck. And I do believe that that is how many women are staying stuck in these perimenopausal years is because I liken it to this. It's like you can't fight a new battle with old weapons.
Right.
It's just not going to work. So you have to reconfigure. And that's where I love to go to work with people. And I'm the lady that's walking now. I'm like, that's what
Mhm.
old people do. It's really what I thought. Like in my 20s and 30s and early 40s, even you see people walking, like, oh, they're so cute.
Mhm.
Look at them walking. I'm like, I'm literally the cute person walking now.
It's
But that's what it takes. We got to take that, intense bone crushing cardio out of the mix and really uptick the weight training. Focus on the protein, focus on the fiber, focus on the sleep, focus on water intake. I'm the lifestyle girl. So I'm the weight loss expert. I am helping people build their foundation strong. So what we don't want to do is build a house on sand. So
Mhm.
no matter what we want to add in, we want to add in hormone replacement therapy, we want to add in GLP-1 peptides. I don't care what we're adding in. If we're not doing the foundational pieces of this correctly, then
Mhm.
all those add-ins really aren't worth much as far as I'm concerned.
Right.
So I really go to work with people laying that foundation. And again, I force people to force. That's terrible. You know what I'm saying.
I know what you mean.
I encourage. How's that? I
Right.
encourage. It's a black and white for me. I encourage to track because what we measure, we can change. And we
Absolutely.
tell ourselves a lot of stories about all the things that we think that we're doing. And it's so rewarding for me to watch somebody make those changes
Yeah.
and see and just immediately see their body respond because as you know 3 or 4 weeks of somebody just kind of taking out the nonsense, just the nonsense processed foods and just
Hmm.
nothing's off limits with me. There's no
Right.
restriction. There's not like I'm not saying no alcohol, I'm not saying no sugar, I'm not saying any of those things. I'm just saying let's just focus on protein and fiber for a bit and see where we land.
That's
Let's
exactly
focus
it.
on eating single ingredient foods for just a bit and just see where we land and see how your body feels about that. Let
Right.
your body tell you how it feels. And immediately, as you know, as a healthcare professional,
Hmm.
that immediately that inflammation goes away.
Yeah, it's
And
unbelievable, and
yeah,
it's actually what you're doing is helping people unlearn what has happened, and I think that's actually there's more to unlearn at this point than there is to learn, because like you'd said,
yes.
it's that we've been conditioned with that carb fear and the cardio
Hmm.
obsession. Let's feel people
Hmm.
feel like they need to eat, women especially feel like they need to eat 1,200 calories and do an hour and a half of cardio every day. And avoid anything that looks like a carbohydrate
Yep.
whatsoever. And it's so opposite of that. So I love seeing that because that's it's a hard thing to do to kind of change somebody's habitual ways. And that's really what it comes down to. It's a lot more than just, hey, do this and do that. And then it goes so much deeper into figuring how they got to here. And you just have to
Hmm.
see within just your scope of practice without having to send anybody over to like a doctor of some sort, like that has an eating disorder or some traumatic issues in their lives and why they're doing what they're doing. It's just there's so much to it. And that's why you just can't go and sign up, buy a diet and try it because it's
Mm-mm.
a very individualized you versus you type thing. And you hire a coach, a trainer, or somebody to kind of help you along that way and do that. And I was saying, like you said, tracking. And that is the work that most people don't want to do. That's
I know.
why
Isn't it fascinating?
you know what it is? I think I figured it out because
Tell me.
tracking takes time, accountability, and it's a form of moderation in a sense because you're able to eat like you said. That's what I say to my clients too. You can eat whatever you want, but we're going to hit the protein, we're going to stay in your calorie deficit, and we're going to work on the fiber because that's all essential for you. But I will tell people that of all the cardio machines you can see in the gym, there's one piece of equipment that you can buy that's a fraction of the price of any of those to put in your home, and that's the digital food scale. Because if you don't have a digital food scale, you're just out there guessing blindly at what's what. I mean, look at what a tablespoon of olive oil looks like. Have you ever seen
Yeah.
that? Have you ever that's the biggest eye opener. I will tell a client every day, just go and put a peanut butter or olive oil on that thing, and you will be blown away. It's depressing, but it's true. So,
Well, and that you're right. Like that's what's so fun about taking someone who's never really paid attention before. And I always tell clients that like it's amazing how far mindfulness will take you.
mhm. Yeah.
Like just opening your eyes and just paying attention to what you're doing. And I don't know when the peanut farmers sold to the American people that peanuts are protein.
Yeah, I don't know how that happened.
I don't know how they sold that bill of goods, but man, did they do a number on us because
Yeah.
I see it all the time in the beginning, all the time. I'm like, oh, I did so good today. I had some Ezekiel bread with some peanut butter and an apple. And I'm like, for breakfast?
That's
What do
that's like
we
that's half your carb count for the day.
exactly? We've just spiked your blood sugar and dropped it. And heaven forbid
Right.
you tried to throw some heavy shit around because like you didn't have any energy to do anything. So
Nothing.
no, how about no? But
Right.
like that to somebody who really thinks that they're paying attention was a fantastic, that was a documented fantastic breakfast. I'm telling you, the peanut butter thing freaks me out.
Get right
But
on.
just going back to your point, like really paying attention to what it is that we're putting in our bodies,
Mm-hmm.
just the nature of tracking. I was just telling a client this today, who was like I think a month in with me, and she's doing brilliant. But I said to her, listen, stay with me. I have 100% results on the people that stay with me and track for 90 days.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing sexy about it. That's
No,
the problem.
it doesn't
And there's nothing
sell.
glamorous about it. And
Doesn't sell.
and the more you do it, the easier it gets. But that's where the results come from is paying attention to what you're doing. And it's not
Mm-hmm.
a goal to track food forever. I don't track food. I can look at
Right.
what I'm eating. I know exactly what's in it.
Right.
But like that's just because I've done the reps longer. I call
Exactly.
it
And I tell
reps,
right no,
right?
I get what you're
All it
saying.
is.
And I tell clients the same thing. Look, I mean this tracking can seem tedious and maybe a little discouraging at times, but it's going to give you the best results because you're
Yes.
being honest with yourself. And it's temporary. You're going to do this for a while
Temporary.
and eventually you're going to be able to know what's what. This is how you learn the portion sizes. And again, I also want to make sure that we're not shaming anybody that doesn't know this stuff. There's just the deck is stacked against them because you have not only the food corporations that don't care about your health at all, that are just pushing every little thing they can on you, hyper palatable stuff that just keep you consuming. They don't want to kill you, but they will let you die for the sake of their profit margins.
Hmm.
But you also have, unfortunately, the fitness industry, which is maybe just as bad, if not worse, because you think you'd be turning there for some good advice, and then they're just pumping you full of a lot of BS of what's right, what's not, and there's so much conflicting and misinformation, and I was going to ask you too because I had a podcast with a gentleman. And I don't want to get political whatsoever on this, but we can. I don't care. But like keeping it high level, that Make America Healthy Again deal, which I think is cool to have some awareness. But don't you think? I think that might miss the mark a little bit, just because I feel like we need to focus on the quantities versus quality first. What do you think about that? You could disagree with me
I
too.
Yeah, no, well, no, I hear what you're saying, but
Yeah,
I think that well, I could go down a complete rabbit hole,
I
which I
know. I
won't,
just I just opened the
but
floodgates.
but
I didn't want to do that.
like I would rather people not eat Fruit Loops at all versus
Right.
us upping the ingredients on Fruit Loops. So that's kind of like
I like
I
that.
think it makes a good soundbite.
Hmm.
And listen, I'm all for, I'm just gonna be clear, I'm all for the new administration. I'm
Me
all for
too.
RFK. I think
We're
that
good.
we're missing some marks here
Hmm.
with where we could really with this Maha movement where we could really take this country. I'd like to see it more in like the actual medical pharmaceutical realm. I think we're upside
Hmm.
down.
Right.
But like yes, I think that we really need to get people to stop eating processed foods, period,
Hmm.
and getting people into real foods and paying attention of those real foods. Again, just going back to mindfulness and what we're actually eating,
Right.
right? And like, so again, the Fruit Loop soundbite, I guess I just am talking about that because I feel like I hear it every time I listen to anything about,
Hmm.
RFK and this movement,
Yeah.
is it's like, y'all shouldn't be eating Fruit Loops, period.
Right, I like that because it's like we're getting excited. That's what I think I put a post out there like, hey, you can get all excited you want because they're going to take a couple of dyes out of your food, but it's still processed regardless. It's still low satiety. It's still junk, and you haven't
Yes,
made any. You're not making any. You're just giving yourself more reasons to eat this shit. That's kind of where I'm at. You
exactly.
know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not
Yeah.
against the movement. I understand. I like RFK and the new administration's all good with me, but at the same time, it's just like we got to focus on our quantities of food because when you look at the statistics, it's obesity that is the leading cause of
Mhm.
chronic illnesses, whether in heart disease, cancers, type 2 diabetes. So what I tell people is, look, I get it. And it's sometimes easier for me to go ahead and tell them, look, you can still have all this stuff, but we're going to still put in, such as high satiety, high protein, fiber
Yes.
foods within here too. And we're going to shift it that way because what you want to do is your obese status is going to do worse things for you than occasionally consuming some processed foods, right? So like I
Absolutely.
get the whole not don't have it at all. I agree, but at the same time, we have to get out of this obesity epidemic. And
Mhm.
I don't think that sort of thing about the ingredients within is touching that. That's the only
No, it's
problem. It's
not even, no,
actually,
they should be treating the obesity crisis like they treated COVID.
oh yeah, Oh yeah.
And they're not, and they've
No.
made them in our lifetime, and it's we are just killing people and looking the other way, and I don't understand it. It's so confusing to me.
It's
And
wildly confusing. Like those, like I lose my mind when I see somebody who's, not to shame them, but obviously overweight with a bag of I've seen it with a bag of
oh, I
McDonald's
know,
walking into work with a mask on their face. And I'm like,
I know.
what are you doing?
I mean, again, I could go down a complete
Yeah,
rabbit hole. It is like
that's a whole
the
nother podcast.
way, and I don't know if you follow Dr. Tina Moore. She's fantastic, but
Mhm.
she went on a crusade during COVID, and just using the word obesity, she would get censored. I mean,
Jeez.
there's a real problem happening in this country. And like I agree with you, like even on the fitness side, like if you're going to go on a place like Instagram, for example, and try to learn about your wellness from sound bites, from
Mhm.
reels, you're in a real pickle
Yeah.
because that is not a soundbite of a 45-minute reel for 15 seconds is not, or I'm sorry, a 45-minute
Hmm.
podcast, you're watching a 15-second reel
Right.
is not going to give you the full picture. It's giving you a soundbite because it wants to grab your attention, but it's not giving you the full picture of the conversation,
Hmm.
nor is it necessarily even speaking to you.
Right. And that's the
And
problem with
that's
our
what I
society. That's the problem with
yeah, but
society in
that's
general.
what I
It's
mean. Everyone wants
headlines.
a quick fix. I'm
Right.
talking to people on social media constantly. They're like, well, what do you do? What is it? And I'm like, it's not an it. It's not, and it's also too, it's like, it's not about what I have that works. Like, do you work? Are
Mhm.
you going to actually do the work that I'm asking you to do? It is
Right.
such a personal journey, and everybody wants the shortcut.
There is none.
And
There's
so, to all of your listeners who are listening right now,
Mhm.
I hate to break the really horrible news. There's no shortcut.
None. It
You just
can't.
have to do the work.
And any shortcut you take is going to hit you on the way out because usually what happens with diets that have shortcuts or that are non-sustainable, if you want to lose, if you want to lose 50 pounds in 3 months or something like that with some extreme ways to do it. You can probably get it done, but let me tell you something. You're going to deplete your muscle mass doing that. And
Massively,
what you do,
massively.
and then what happens is this is you not only people will think, okay, I lost 50 pounds doing this, then I gained it all back. I said, wait a minute.
Mhm.
I don't think you gained it all back. I think you're in a worse position because you burned up your muscle mass. Now you're at a higher body fat to skeletal muscle mass ratio.
Yep.
You literally just shrunk your expensive tissue that helps your metabolism, that helps you have your shape, that keeps you strong. You sunk that and you replace that now with 50 pounds of pure fat. So
Yep.
if you lost 35 pounds of fat and 15 pounds of muscle during that extreme diet phase, gained it all back, you're in a worse position now. So
I completely agree. And that is the piece. I mean, you want to talk about being behind the eight ball, be a midlife woman
mhm,
who is probably not prioritized, in my experience, from the women that I talk to, have not prioritized weight training.
nope.
They didn't know they needed to prioritize weight training. They're terrified of getting bulky,
Oh yeah.
all the things, right? And so they are absolutely, it's, you've got to make it's your longevity organ.
Hmm.
Muscle is all you have, and it's your retirement account. And you better be making deposits into that retirement, or you are not going to have a very bright future. And I am always telling women, listen, I am a huge fan of looking great in a bathing suit and looking
Hmm.
good in my clothes. I'm a big fan of that. And I am never going to say that that's not important because I think it's important. But I'm also looking out for 80-year-old Kayla.
Hmm.
And this is the best part. You get to have both.
Right.
You can do both at the same time, but I want to age really well, and I want to be strong, and I want to be functional. And if you're not doing the stuff now, it's never too late. But
Hmm.
if you're not doing that stuff now, you're really, you got to get with it. So the women who are in my age category that are listening to you, which
Hmm.
I'm sure you have lots of them, you got to lift heavy shit. You just have to do it. It doesn't have to be fancy. It doesn't have to be in a gym. I
Hmm.
mean, the way I utilize it now with clients is COVID brought equipment into people's houses out of desperation,
Yeah.
right? So if they held on to it, I'm like, just start there,
Right.
right? Heavy
Absolutely
enough for
true.
6 to 8 reps. Throw your 5 pound dumbbells away. I don't have patience for that.
Yeah.
But like 6 to 8 reps, heavy, as heavy as you possibly can within reason. But like we've got to get women using their bodies. And from a weight loss perspective, they've got to do it anyway. You got to
And
have muscle in order to have the mechanism to burn the fat and to look
right.
the way that you want to look.
Right, because you won't have a shape, and one thing that like here's a word for you, and I bet you this word I'm gonna say, I think it's gonna make you cringe.
Tell me.
I just want to be toned,
Oh, yeah.
toned, right?
Yeah.
The toned word is a fit look it's the ultimate goal for the vast majority of women and how they want to look. And it doesn't come from 1,200 calorie diets and lifting, 2.5 pound weights twice a week.
Nope.
It doesn't come from that. It's not to shame that. It's just that they've been lied to. And
Well, it's the Tracy Anderson era. It's that whole thing.
the Suzanne Summers and all that.
Yeah.
Remember that? The
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
it's actually very similar the way men and women should be training, if not identical in a sense. I think that's one of the biggest, just I don't know what the word I'm looking for is, but it's just unfortunate that women have been sold that type of training and it's that strength training is not for them. I think that's actually criminal in a sense, and I think that's caused a lot of women to have issues with themselves, with their health, with their body image issues, that they've a fear of bulkiness and that this isn't for them, that it's a place for men. It is not. And it is the way
No.
to go. Calorie surpluses are for women too. And that's for me, that's one of the biggest struggles as a man. I have many of my clients are actually between 35 and 50 mostly, and they're women. They've had their kids, they want their body back, which I tell them, don't worry about your body back. We're gonna get your body forward. It's going to be something new. So, forget what you used to do, where you've
Yeah,
been.
love that.
Come
Yes.
back, and you're here now. You're not going back. You're going forward. It's kind of like if you learn something and you want to just become yourself again. You already know something. You can't go back to who you were. So you've already been through your body, and you know more about this than me. After you have children, you've had 6 of them. You said
Three,
af-
three.
oh,
In all
3.
fairness, three.
Oh,
Yeah,
3.
I've only
Okay.
birthed 3. Yeah.
Birth 3, but 6. You got like a Brady Bunch thing
Yes.
going on at
Yeah.
home. Okay, I got you.
Yes.
All right, I see. So you birth 3. That's still a lot. That's still a lot.
Yeah, that's still
It
a lot
puts
for your body to go through.
Right. That
Yeah.
still puts your body through a lot. And, I did a podcast with Christine Ziffra is her name. She's a birth injury and pregnancy coach. I learned a lot from that one. So,
I bet.
but anyways, and she put into perspective what women go through pregnancy. So anyways, I totally forgot where I was going with this, but
No,
anyway.
but you were saying like not going backwards and going
Right,
forward.
and going
I love
forwards
that.
because your body's
Yes.
been through some stuff. So for me as a man, it's hard to kind of like have women and suggest that they go and lift because I'm a man and because it sounds like I'm just trying to get you to do what I do. But so that's why I enjoy having women like you on my podcast, so that if I do have a client that's hesitant to go into the gym and start doing squats and deadlifts and presses and things like that, the compound movements that they should be doing, and not just doing some 2-pound dances and stuff with things.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? So like I like to have this type of conversation documented. Hey, listen to this. It's not just me. Listen to Kayla, listen to Christine,
Yeah.
listen to who's on here. And it's not me just trying to push my way. It is the biological way of our anatomy needs to be. It's just who we are. So
Oh, absolutely. I couldn't
know?
agree more. And you're right. Like it's women, it's so unfortunate because we've just gotten left in the dust in so many ways. And the industry and just culturally, we've been pushed towards cardio.
Mhm.
So we're here for a reason because I'm saying, I mean that in a way that this mindset that a lot of women share, there's a reason for it. It's
Mhm.
because of culturally in the industry, what they've pushed us towards. And we were never talking about, being strong.
Right.
And that is a paradigm shift that I'm like shouting it from the rooftops. I feel like on a daily basis, really trying, because at the end of the day, a lot of women that I talk to want to lose weight.
Mhm.
And weight training is in that conversation,
Yep.
in every single one of those conversations. And it's a learning curve for a lot of women. I think I got lucky getting into the weight room as young as I did, but I have a lot to teach people now because of all of this tenure of experience
Mhm.
and really watching how it does change your physique and getting women, off bathroom scales and on
Mhm.
body composition scales. I'm like, you want to have more muscle mass and body fat at the end of the day. And a number on a bathroom scale is not telling you what is happening with your body composition. And we have got to make sure, to your point about losing all that weight, right? Guaranteed, a lot of that was muscle mass. We got to hold on to that muscle is gold.
Yes, it is.
Is gold. I can't wait until this conversation is just commonplace.
It
But
really
like
should
that
be.
muscle is gold, and you got to hang on to it. And we got to figure out how to decrease the body fat. But
Mhm.
it's critically important.
It's hard because it's like you get clients that come in more often than not, they're in a motivation stance, like in a motivation mindset. So they're
Mhm.
motivated in that minute. They they want to get it done now. They want to be, they want to
Yesterday,
lose.
preferably.
Yeah, they want to lose 100 pounds yesterday. Exactly.
Yep.
And it's just not going to happen like that. I think mentally, weight training feels like they're going to be gaining more weight. So like the thought of that, even just the thought of it, just is just immediately rejected,
Yep.
subconsciously rejected from their brains. And I mean, I see how it would be. I get it until you really understand the whole thing. And like you said, I like when you said deposit into the bank for your future, because
Yeah.
I did a podcast episode once on how like investing in finance and investing in yourself and your body is the
Yes.
same thing. And
Yes.
you need to look almost at like, okay, if you're starting a business, right? Like how does a business owner become successful? They can passive income, which means they put other people to work for them to do all the hard work. So doing cardio is like starting a business and doing all the work yourself. You're going to burn out. You're not going to get the great results you want. But strength training, adding muscle mass, is like adding in extra burn for you. It's going to happen after you train, after you eat. You're going to start burning more at rest, increasing your BMR, and that's burning for you while you're sitting there. So whatever's in you, your metabolism basically is working for you as you're sitting there doing other things while you're eating, sitting on the couch, going for a walk, whatever else it is. It's working for you. So you need to get that revved up. That's kind of how I like to put it, for people to make sense of it. But again, they have to just come to terms with that reality and the patience around it, right?
Agreed.
So,
Agreed. Well, and it's just it's trusting in, and that's why it's such a personal process, and finding a coach that you will listen to and that you will trust. Because ultimately it's the relationship, right? That you create, and just trusting that we've proven that it works,
mhm,
and just follow the process.
right.
Just follow the process. And every little, nuance to it is different based on the person that I'm talking to.
Mhm,
But there are definitely some core principles that we have got to pay attention to. Like I'm doing a
right.
free 30-day kind of spring into action challenge, and
Mhm.
all I'm having them track is protein and fiber and steps and water and sleep.
That's great.
Like, can we just get it back to the basics, right? Just
Mhm.
get it back to the basics. Let's work on building some foundational stuff. And then, of course, it ebbs and flows and changes per client. But we got to get, and then, of course, the weight training is extra credit.
Right. Oh yeah.
See what I've done? I've actually had to make weight training extra credit because I still have to talk about it,
Yeah.
right? But I'm trying to keep the simplicity of like, let's just make some progress here.
Right.
And of course, then we have to have the alcohol conversation. But
Mm.
it can get more nuanced as you're working with somebody one to one, but that's really what it takes. And we're
Mhm.
all out there looking for the diet that's going to work. And I was like, listen, if I had that secret, I would be a cajillionaire.
Oh yeah.
And I
That's
promise you, I wouldn't be gatekeeping it.
no, exactly. You'd be out there promoting the hell out of it, raking in more than Elon Musk. So,
Exactly.
because that's what would happen. But
Exactly.
you know, there's supplements to help and all of that. There's little things that you can do. But if like you said, the foundation is what
Yeah. And you know what? Speaking of supplements, like get on
Mhm.
creatine.
Oh yeah.
It's funny even the conversation about creatine scares women,
Uh-huh.
creatine, we need all the help we can get to hold on to lean muscle. I like the gummies. I'm a kind of a gummy creatine girl because I just
Hmm.
can't do another potion.
Sure.
I'm all about consistency, so I have to figure out for me, I have to hack things that'll be consistent for me. And so
Hmm.
like my colostrum is a gummy, my creatine is a gummy, but yeah, to
Hmm.
all your female listeners who are tuned in, get on the creatine
Absolutely.
bandwagon.
And it's more than just for muscle mass. It has other benefits.
Oh,
I've
brain
actually
support,
brain support,
cardiovascular. Yeah.
cognitive stuff. And all you need is 5 grams a day.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
it. And it's very beneficial. I take I'm boring. I just take the powder, the unflavored creatine monohydrate.
Of course you do because you're a dude, just like my husband. No frills. Just mix that shit up and
Yeah.
drink it.
A
Stop
gummy,
talking about
a
it.
gummy sounds good though. You know, that might not be a bad change of pace at some point to do that. But I think that is very beneficial to women, and I think you'd recommend it too, right? Whether they're in a calorie deficit or in a
Oh,
surplus,
it
I
doesn't
think
have make no, it makes no
it doesn't
difference. We
matter,
need
right?
Yeah, ladies, building muscle is way harder than you think it is. It is
Yeah.
way, like my husband always says, if it was easy, I would have Arnold Schwarzenegger arms.
Oh yeah.
Like it is very, very challenging to put on actual lean
And
muscle. You need
and
all the help you can get.
what you just said, to build on that, remember what Kayla here just said, how hard it is to build muscle. So when you fear becoming bulky and you think that a month in the gym, you're going to start looking like an ESPN stage competitor up there, you're not. That takes
No,
years upon years and
years.
Some people are on, some of those women are on drugs. What you're thinking of, they're on all kinds of stuff that you don't need to do. A little creatine never hurt anybody. The
No,
problem with it is that they hear that it's water retention, which is half true because it does saturate your muscles with some water.
it does. It
But
does. It does.
that's when you want to say screw the scale and we're going to do the body composition stuff, because that's the thing with water retention. Water retention is a pain in the ass for me, because if someone has a high sodium day, a high calorie day, and then they step on the scale, then the scale shoots up 3.5 pounds. You got to talk to them and be like, look, there's no way you gain 3.5 pounds
No,
of fat overnight. You literally are retaining water. You have a lot of food inside of you. You just, maybe they had some drinks or alcohol.
exactly. It's like I hate
Yeah,
talking people off the ledge.
right.
That's why I don't like people weighing in on a bathroom scale, because you're right. And I say this, like, I'm going to Mexico next week. So maybe I'll go off of creatine if I feel like it's making me a little bit bloated, if I'm going to be in a bathing suit or whatever. But
Right.
when you're back home in your sanctuary, minding your
Hmm.
business, doing your things, get on your supplements, get on your
Oh yeah.
creatine, right? You want to, it's good to take breaks from supplements. I cycle everything.
Right. Exactly.
So give yourself, 2 weeks to go off of something and then go back on it again.
And those are the times when it's okay to maybe do something a little maybe non-sustainable. If you're like are going to be going on a trip to,
Yeah,
Mexico or wherever you're going to go, maybe be in a bathing suit, maybe be on the beach, whatever it is. If men and women both do this, and it's totally normal to do something like that. But that's just for the hey, we're going to do this for the trip to feel good about it, feel good about ourselves, and then when you get back on track to what it was. And again, the trip, that's where I get a little like. So with goals, right? Like I
Mhm.
cringe a bit when it's somebody's wants to do something for a trip, for a wedding
Oh,
coming up, or they're lonely and they want to find a person. I said you have to keep it about yourself, because if you're going to go through any of those things, is once the trip is done, the wedding's over with, or you do find that person that maybe you get engaged to or whatever it is, and that's where your fitness is going to stop, because that's what you tied it to.
that's
So
what you tied it
you
to.
tied it to an end goal. So not to get morbid, but you need to tie it. Your end goal is death. That's when you stop. Is
It's
when you're
it's
dead.
literally and honestly, I have to say that I think that we have to hammer that point home and really get people to understand and accept that there is never a destination and you are on this journey forever and ever. Amen. I liken it
Mhm.
to brushing your teeth. Like you don't just
Yeah,
wake up one day and decide you're not going to brush your teeth again. It's maintenance. You're
it's a
not going
great
to wake up one
analogy.
day and not do your laundry again or not
Right.
wash your car. I mean, you just things are they work on a cycle and you have to keep taking care of yourself. And I mean, right now my DMs are filled with graduations and weddings.
Yeah.
And people have waited till April 1st to go on a crash diet to lose
Hmm.
25 pounds by June 1st. I mean,
Ooh.
like literally what I'm dealing with right now. So, like, for
Yeah.
me, this is all about education,
Right.
right? This is all about grabbing somebody who will listen and saying, listen, yeah, can we make some progress by June 1st? Absolutely. But is the goal even to drop 25 pounds in 2 months? Absolutely not. It's not even realistic. I would
Yeah.
never set you up for that kind of failure, nor, I mean, like, you have to do all the basic things to allow your body to start dropping body fat. But do you see the mentality of just where we are? It's just,
Hmm.
we're there. And so thank goodness there's people like you and I out there
Right.
trying to right the ship,
There's some good info out there.
right?
Absolutely. No, I appreciate what you're doing out there. You got, you're speaking my language, like you said earlier.
Yeah,
And, it's hard. And I go through social media often on a lot of fitness pages and sites, and I see things and I'm just like, wow, like some people are just still in that diet mentality. And
absolutely.
then it's not no fault of their own. Again, like, you just, you try to do this from a helpful place. And I've been there, you shared a story before, and I'll share one I've shared before on here too. I used to go to the gym in my early 20s, and I would go on the elliptical, and I don't know, the calorie counter on that thing used to go sky high, so I felt good about that. It just seemed like it just added up the calories so quick, and to double down on that, I would go on a Friday and I would try to burn 1,000 calories on that thing, and that meant
Oh,
I
that's
could.
funny.
But my reason for burning 1,000 calories was because I could drink about 10 beers, and
Hey,
they wouldn't
absolutely. I mean,
count.
it's just math.
Yeah, but that's not the way it goes, because we know those. Another thing too,
No,
those calorie counters on those machines are.
no, and that
Oh,
math never adds up. 2 plus 2 does not equal 17. I mean, that does not, no matter how you try to math that, that does
no,
not.
No, and then the 10
We
beers
thought it
also.
did though. Wasn't that a fun delusion for a while?
It was. It made me feel less guilt about my terrible weekends.
Ah, exactly.
10 beers, speaking of math, leads to, late night burritos and pizza.
Oh, Taco Bell. Are you kidding me?
Oh,
Come on.
Taco Bell stays open till 3 a.m. for a reason, people.
Yes,
Yeah, I've,
exactly.
I've been through there before. So let's a couple more
That's what I hear anyway. I don't know if that's
right.
from my personal story. That's just what I hear around the grapevine.
I try to stay away from there. Here and there, I might dive in there a little bit, just if I'm feeling it. But yeah. Anyways, I wanted to ask one thing before we do close it
Yeah.
up. So you have like a 90-day deal on your site here.
Yes, I
So
do.
and I like how I'm looking at it right now. So you do like different sectors, like month one is something, month two, and month three.
Hmm.
Just if anybody out there listening, because we are both nutrition coaches, we do the same thing, we're both
Yeah.
trainers, and again,
Yeah.
the space is big enough for all of us to share. So
Totally agree.
and some people might feel better working with a female, or,
Yeah.
just sometimes, and you know what, if that's okay, because you know what, if that gets you to where you need to be, then I support that. And this is not something that's the endless pool of people that will need help throughout life is astounding. But I'm just
Yes.
curious, as I look at this here, what differentiates, like, how do you, if you want to just, you don't have to get too deep in the woods with it here, but like each month, how do you like progress your clients through each month, because you kind
Yeah,
of have
that's a
it
great
sectored. So
question.
if you wouldn't mind, just maybe just give it a quick like overview of how
Yes,
each month
absolutely.
goes. Yeah, thank you.
So I do, there's a lot of assessing that happens in the beginning of my program. And I think I mentioned this a while back when we were first talking, is I have to first evaluate where we are. So I liken it to, we have some of the similar analogies.
Hmm.
I always tell my clients, it's like hiring a financial planner and not letting them see your bank account. So
Exactly.
I need an insight into where we're spending and where we're saving money.
Hmm.
And that's really what I teach my clients is about picking moments, right? Making deposits so you have room for withdrawals. So really, we spend the first 30 days, which is I learned the hard way why my program is now 90 days, because my program in the very beginning when I was doing that market research, like I mentioned back in COVID,
Hmm.
after 30 days, everybody was frustrated. I was frustrated. They were frustrated. They wanted to re-up with me because what can happen in 30 days?
Right.
So we lay a lot of groundwork in the first 30 days. And 30 days is really about them documenting and learning. I also have an academy. So I immediately put people into my academy. What happens in there, there's 30 plus modules. It's all videos of me. And I'm talking a lot about how we get organized, how we calendar, how we food journal. I go through all of kind of the housekeeping of that. I have recipes and oh my gosh, shopping lists and protein cheat sheets and workouts and all the things. How to eat while you're on the road, how to eat while you're on
Mm.
vacation. I talk about hormone replacement therapy. I talk about all the things in there. So I put them in the academy and we really go to work in that first month of them just being mindful and documenting. And as we go into the second month, we're really stabilizing our protein and our fiber. And we're talking more about complex carbohydrates and fats. Because, like you said, we've now villainized carbohydrates, right? We've now villainized them because
Hmm.
unfortunately, we can't put the processed foods and the complex carbohydrates in different buckets. They just kind of all get lumped into one big bucket. And so there's a lot of education around complex carbohydrates and fats. And it's such a fun process working with people on this because I say to them, and they want to believe you, but I think the proof is in the pudding, if you will, is that when we really do stabilize our protein and fiber, it answers a lot of what's happening,
Hmm.
right? It answers a lot of what's happening. I also utilize an app. So I have workouts in my academy, but I also have an app that I utilize to send people personalized workouts if they choose to. It's part of my program. Not
Hmm.
everybody takes advantage of that. And then as we go into kind of like day 75 at the end, I have them come off of food journaling completely because in the beginning, like I say to them, the goal is not to do it forever. That's not the intention of it. The intention is for to give me data, think of me like a researcher, right? And to
Hmm.
give me data so I can help you course correct and for you to learn. And
Hmm.
then we want you to come off of food journaling because I want you to be able to eat intuitively. I want you to know what a tablespoon of olive oil looks like. I want you to know what 4 ounces of chicken looks like. You shouldn't be measuring and being restrictive.
Hmm.
So it's really fun. So they still send me, we're in daily communication. They still send me an email, but they're just telling me what they had at breakfast. My goal with my clients, no matter when they start to eat, is to prioritize that first meal.
Yeah.
It's like getting up and working out first thing in the morning. You got to push over that first domino and you got to hedge your bet
Right.
because the day can get away from us. So the more you can stack and load the first part of your day with
Oh yeah.
time for yourself, workout, whatever it is, even if it's a quick walk, and then really load that first meal with as much protein as possible, just to hedge your bet, right? And it's amazing the progress that happens in 90 days. And then I keep
Right.
them in my academy for life. So once they're
Mhm.
there for life. A lot of people come back to me and say, it's just so good to get in there and just hear your voice
Yeah, that's
and just
great.
like get
Yeah.
a refresher for,
It's
for
a
all the things to go back to the food journaling. And I tell them, like, listen, I'm going to teach you how to food journal if you've never done it before. Not intended to do forever, but what if it's now January next year and you just want to kind of feel yourself kind of get back on track and just start paying attention? Now you have the skill set,
right.
right?
That's
Now you have the
great.
skill set.
That's like a
Yeah,
healthy comfort to come back and sort of hear your voice. And I like what you said. And I'd say this to a lot of my clients too, to get their first meal out of the way with a lot of, not out of the way, I don't like to say that way, but get that protein up like 30% of your day in one meal. Who cares? Just get it in
exactly.
there because not only does that help with satiety and being full throughout the day
Yes.
early on, but you don't have to chase protein later in the day. The worst thing you could do is have like 300 calories left and it has to be straight protein. Now you're just sitting here trying to suck down boiled cod. It's
Yeah.
like, so I even found that this is something that I do that I ask clients if you think it'd be helpful for them. For me, I don't know what it is. Is this something that's like just instinctual or mental with me? But like I want, and most people like this, I want to eat worse at the end of the day. Like, like
Totally.
I get like more cravings towards the end of the day. So what I do is structure my day, and I help clients do that too, to where, yeah, maybe we're gonna have like a good, solid, clean, high protein meal. We get our vegetables in there and that first meal, whatever it is. Who cares if it's not a breakfast type meal? You can eat whatever type of food
Totally.
you want every day. The more like societal prisons you can bust through that you don't need to be in, that you've been conditioned for.
Societal prisons.
They really are. I mean, think about it. Breakfast has to be.
Good.
You don't have to eat eggs for breakfast. Eat pancakes.
Exactly.
Eat a steak. Eat a steak and potatoes for breakfast if you want, and
Yeah.
have pancakes for at 9 o'clock. Who cares?
Yeah.
So that's what I kind of do is I keep my favorite meal towards the end of the day. It's worked for me. It's a mental thing. So
It's a great idea. And everybody loves breakfast for dinner. Let's be real.
yeah,
Remember when you were a kid and your parents were like, I don't want to cook.
yeah.
So we're having pancakes. I
It's
mean, that was like you were a
ideal.
hero.
Just bust out the waffles for me. Um,
Exactly.
great. So, and then one other thing before we close it up and get your contact info out. I did have a question actually that somebody wanted me to ask you when
Yes.
I mentioned this, and maybe you can help me out. So, for those women who are perimenopausal, and they have, you just said you had some sort of like during the COVID time and throughout that period, you were out of sorts, right? You had said like you were
Mhm.
feeling yourself like I don't understand this too much, so I'm going to ask the question as it was, but like
Yeah.
real simple, but like outside of what we've talked about, if a woman is going through this period of her life and having hormonal imbalances or whatever it might be, what are like some good things for women to do? I know exercise, obviously, and changing their diet. Outside of those types of things, what food or supplements or what else can women do to kind of correct that, like whatever feelings they're having, lack of sleep or anything? Like, what would you recommend? What do you say?
Okay. So this may not be a popular advice or popular opinion, but women need to get on hormones.
Okay.
Historically, women have been, myself included, have been afraid of misinformation that was put out many, many years ago that having women on estrogen was going to, you basically were going to get breast cancer, or you had higher risk of getting breast cancer if you were going to be on hormones. That is not the truth. And in my experience, based on my own experience and others that I've worked with, there really isn't a supplement or a lifestyle strategy that is going to save you from a lack of estrogen.
Okay.
And women needlessly suffering. I mean, just Google it. Like the amount of things that can go wrong in estrogen is in every operating system in our body.
Hmm.
And what we see happening with women that are not getting this estrogen replaced is ridiculous. I mean, just from like a soft tissue situation, frozen shoulder, plantar fasciitis. I mean, you can't imagine the things that will go away when women are getting the amount of hormones that they need to be optimal. And don't be afraid of it and keep looking for a doctor who knows what they're doing
Hmm.
because unfortunately they aren't schooled in menopause. So basically that education in medical school, once they get past childbearing, it's pretty much it.
Hmm.
There's not really education. So you're looking for an OBGYN who's taken it upon themselves to get themselves accredited in further education to really help the midlife woman. And I'm not saying that that's the end all be all, but it's up there.
Okay.
And I don't see any other supplement or lifestyle adjustment that will take the place of replenishing the body with what it needs. And that was a massive switch for me when I went into supplementing. The estrogen, I did the
Mm.
bioidentical estrogen, the progesterone, and I'm actually on testosterone.
Okay.
And it made a massive impact in my life. But I did that with the care of a concierge physician, which means I am paying out of pocket
Mm.
to get somebody who knows what they're talking about. And it does take some due diligence on your part. And that's really how I help facilitate for women as well. I mean, I'm the expert in the lifestyle piece, but I consider myself kind of a concierge. I'm
Mm.
attached to a nurse practitioner who does Dutch test lab testing for women that want to do that. I have a telehealth OBGYN I can connect women to. So I definitely help women with what's outside of my scope.
I see.
So I'm not an MD, but I'm speaking from my own experience and saying that getting on hormones when you are in perimenopause, and trust me, it's not a secret. Something's off. I
Yeah.
mean, things go a bit haywire, and I have been completely leveled out.
Interesting.
So it's the best advice I can give is just to get in to have really good care. And it's not inexpensive
That's
either.
oh yeah. So it's not covered. It's not something to be covered by an insurance, and it's
You could get
a.
really lucky. That's not necessarily true. I tell my clients all the time, you could get lucky. You could
Hmm.
get lucky, but I had a client just last month who lives in an extremely affluent area of Northern California
Hmm.
and in Silicon Valley. Okay, just to set the stage. And her OBGYN told her that estrogen and all the hormone replacement therapy was snake oil,
Interesting. Wow.
which is bananas. I'll go toe to toe with that person all day long. That is
Wow.
bananas. And that leads these women, you trust your doctor.
Right.
And it's really unfortunate the misinformation that's happening out there. So you could hit a home run. I always tell clients, start with your OBGYN, go in and have a conversation. You have to be in control of your own health. So you got to take control, you got to get educated. And if they aren't helpful, then yes, you have to move on to the next thing, which is
Mhm.
how I help women as well, as I help them navigate that process. It's really important. It's not
Yep.
the answer.
Right.
There is not an answer. But if we're just talking about perimenopausal symptoms specifically,
Hmm.
that's my best advice. Is that
Okay. Wow.
helpful?
That sounds very helpful. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. So that's all prescription stuff. There's no over the
It's
counter
all
kind of thing. Okay.
prescription. I personally would not waste time with supplements. I mean, boy, we want to sell that stuff all day long.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Well,
you know
hey,
what? God bless. Maybe it works for some people, but I'm not taking a supplement for perimenopause. It's not
understood.
happening. I'm going to take magnesium and I'm going to take fish oil and I'm going to take vitamin K and vitamin D and vitamin C, but I'm not going to be sold a perimenopausal supplement per se.
Okay. Well,
Not today, Satan.
very good. Hey, yeah, I hear you, man. There's a lot of Satans. There's a lot of Satans out there trying to exchange your well-being for pills and such. So I
Exactly.
totally get it. But yeah, I
Exactly.
think that's extremely helpful. I think this was a really good conversation. And do you have anything else before I give your contact info that you want to say out there to put out
No,
there?
it's been an honor. Thank you for having me.
Oh,
It's so fun to just sit and chew the fat with somebody who really understands this midlife struggle
yeah,
and that you're a 42, right? 42-year-old
42. Yeah.
crusading to help women in midlife. I think it's really cool.
I do
So
my I do
thank you
my
for having
best, and of course, and that's why we do have this conversation so I can learn because not being a woman and can't be a woman that I need to know. I learn from women, so
me.
that's what
Yeah,
we do here.
I
So,
love it.
all right, so hey, look, if you want to talk to Kayla here, the two best spots to get in touch with her would be your website is at KaylaJohnsonFitness.com
Hmm.
and Instagram at Kayla Johnson Fitness. So you can
Correct.
reach out to her over there in any way you want. If you want to talk to me to get to Kayla, however it works, or just talk to me about whatever the heck you want, I'm at MFS Wellness on Instagram, Facebook, X, and LinkedIn. I have a website, which is mfswellness.com. So thank you, Kayla, very much for being here today. We had a great discussion, and we will talk to everybody on the next one. Thank you.